Ugh. 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 Just open, damn it!
Welcome back, everyone. Today I have decided that I'm going to be talking about our lockboxes and our specific check-in instructions that we give customers so that you don't have any issues like the little clip at the beginning of the video. So I mostly wanted to make this for guests that were a bit confused on what to do within the check-in process of Turo, as well as making this for us hosts that have a bit more difficulties communicating with our guests to a T, because I mean, let's be honest, sometimes you expect that something is pretty simple to do and it ends up being the most difficult thing to get a guest to do. So let's get straight into it, as I'm going to be teaching you guys the different kinds of lockboxes that I have, all of their different functionalities, when and why you'd be using them, as well as any problems you might face using any of these systems in your fleet. You don't want your guests breaking any of your stuff, so let's get straight into it. So there's a couple of different boxes out there in the market. The main ones that I've seen are the physical lockbox that can go actually locked onto either a steering wheel or a door, or maybe even a shifter gear if that's what you're looking for. A magnetized lockbox that can go hidden wherever there's anything metal to magnetize it to wherever you want. The window mounted lockboxes that are a little bit more discreet than the lockboxes. I'm gonna be honest, I should find a better name for them because it's tiring calling them lockboxes. But moving on from there, the last kind of lockboxes that you have are the wall mounted lockboxes, which don't go anywhere near the car really. They would rather go on a building that you have nearby or something similar to that. Now, you might think, oh well, why would I really care about most of these boxes? The first one seemed to be good enough in most cases. Well, you would be semi-right. It really depends on how big your fleet is. If you have really similar cars with really similar situations of how the key goes and what you're doing with them, then yeah, be my guest. Just go ahead and use the same lock boxes for all of them. But if you have situations like in my case where I have vehicles that happen to have key fobs instead of regular keys, and some of the keys don't fit in the regular boxes, then I have to go and mix and match depending on what's easiest for me. For example, the window lock boxes are usually a little bit bigger than the regular lock boxes, and the magnetized lock boxes tend to be pretty good when you are delivering a car somewhere that's not very familiar to you and you have to go ahead and leave it there. It just makes it a little bit more secure because people don't tend to go looking around to see if there's a lockbox inside of the car or around the car anywhere that is semi-hidden. That way you can go ahead and talk with your customer and let them know exactly where they have to find their key without you worrying about them getting to the delivery location and not finding the car.
Yes, I already tried it. How many times do I have to tell you? I figured it out. I'm trying to open it right now and it won't open. What do you want me to do? I need to go. Like, I cannot be waiting here for this. This is bad. This is bad.
And trust me, you do not want to have to deal with that out of experience like I have. I once had a situation with one of my Ford Focuses where the regular lockbox was on the rear passenger side door because it was a key fob vehicle, meaning that if it was too close to any of the other doors or inside of the car would have started with the fob being in the lockbox. So I went ahead and put it on that passenger side door, and it ended up being stolen because somebody ripped off my door handle and just put the box next to the front door. The door went ahead and opened, the car went ahead and started, and they just took the car as if it was nothing. Really quick way I could have avoided this was if I either had a wall-mounted lockbox so that they wasn't anywhere near the vehicle to start with, they wouldn't know where the key was, or a discrete magnet lockbox where they wouldn't have any idea that there was even a lockbox on the car. Not saying that this is something that would happen to you guys, just stating that you guys should learn from my mistakes and start off the right way. Now, let's head more into talking about the importance of contactless pickup. Some of you may think, wouldn't I want to be there when my customer is picking up their car? Wouldn't I need to see what kind of customer is going to be having my vehicle and want to know their plans and have this and have that? Yes, in theory, it would be nice. And in a perfect world, we'd know exactly where our vehicle is and have no issues with that. But unfortunately, it's not a perfect world. And sometimes customers are late, really late.
Of course I check the license plate. What do you mean check the license plate? It's not like... You have 2 of these, don't you?
So what we do to combat this is we have our lockbox systems so that we can go ahead and leave the key so that the guests can pick up the car whenever they need to without us having to deal with having that key for the guest and waiting for that customer to get to us. And trust me, once again, I've had to deal with this myself. A couple of my first trips before I found out what a lockbox even was, I had to wait at least 3 hours for a customer to arrive, almost near midnight. And it was a terrible experience, made me feel like I was in over my head and I shouldn't be a Turo host. But trust me, lockboxes are the most silent savior you will ever find. This isn't to say that physical contact is a bad thing to have in your Turo fleet, but maybe try figuring out a good medium in between the two. Maybe something where you try to meet the guest before the Turo trip starts, but if they notify you or have that communication with you where they won't be able to get to the car sometime soon, then you go ahead and switch to plan B where you already have that lockbox prepared for the customer. Or you could do it the other way around where you already have the lockbox prepared for them and you have sent them the information that they need to pick up the car. But if you happen to be around, you can go ahead and hand them the keys directly yourself. This is what I do in my fleet. If I'm around and I can just hand the customer the keys, I'd much rather go ahead and meet them. But if I am busy for whatever reason, I know that they can go ahead and pick up the car whenever they need to. So try to mess around with that, try to figure out what works for you, and just go from there. Now, another thing I want to mention that might be a really good idea for a lot of us is keyless entry. Now, keyless entry is a little bit of a different situation for a lot of us because it is in newer vehicles only. Now, some of my 2012 Escapes do have keyless entry on the front door. It's a little code thing that you can just input and it'll open the door up for you. That way you can just leave the key in it, leave the car locked, and have no problems with lockboxes. The problem being with this is that you still don't have that level of security of making sure that your car won't be broken into with people knowing that the key might be in there. Always make sure that you're being careful and just make sure that you guys are staying safe out there. That being said, lockboxes aren't the perfect thing in the world either. There is some problems that you need to be aware of before you go ahead and go and buy 500 of these, okay? So starting off with the big one, lockboxes will freeze on you in the summertime. Not only will they freeze on you, but whatever is inside, if not insulated, will also semi-freeze. I've had situations where some of my key fobs inside of lockboxes won't turn the car on simply because the batteries or whatever is inside has frozen and won't want to turn on until you warm it up. So always be careful in the wintertime. Of course, a lot of things in the wintertime get messed up, but lockboxes are a big one. They can break, they can just freeze up, they can do a lot of things, so just be careful. Another big situation is customers breaking them. Since lockboxes aren't a costly thing on the lower scale, most of them are like 15 bucks per unit. This isn't something that you will get paid back if your customer ends up breaking it on you. So what you do in these cases is honestly just take the loss. If it's helped you out with at least a couple of trips, in my honest opinion, it's paid for itself. So just go ahead and buy a new one. Two more things you do need to be aware of are, first of all, with the window mounted ones, you always want to make sure you have very set instructions on how to put it on and how to take it off, because I've had an issue once where my customer did not take it off, and I was so terrified thinking of the fact that the customer was just driving around with it, and it does kind of move on the window. It's not set still. So there is a chance that a window could break like that. So always make sure that your customers are taking the lock boxes off of the windows. And finally, your customer returning the car and not scrambling the code or changing the code on you. This happily has never happened to me where they change the code, but leaving the lockbox open happens to me constantly. I don't understand why, I don't understand how, but customers just don't seem to lock it. or don't seem to scramble the numbers. So make sure that you put that somewhere in your instructions or do something so that the guests go ahead and do that. A couple of things that I do to combat this: in one of my locations, I have a completely different area where they have to put the keys back, just so that they don't have to deal with putting them back in the lockbox and making sure that they do whatever's going on there correctly. I just have them throw it somewhere else and I'll take care of it whenever I am back in. You also really need to require instructions so that all of the other situations don't happen to you. Like I've been saying constantly, just make sure that you are instructing them the way that you have to. And finally, if it comes to it, you can charge fees for a lot of this stuff. If your guest does not return the car the way they're supposed to, Turo will help you out with a improper return fee, is what it's called. So end of the day, just make sure that you're doing everything correctly. If you need to use that to your advantage, you can go ahead and tell customers that they will be charged if they do not do things the way that you are asking them to. Just make sure that you guys are having all of this in your listings or sending these messages out to your customers and just simply doing everything right. And finally, if your customer still has no idea how to follow the rules and has no idea how a lockbox works and is constantly blowing up your phone over all of this stuff, then you can just do one simple thing, which is send them this video so that they can know exactly what you know now and make sure that they can take care of your car the way that you would want them to take care of it. That's going to be it for me today, guys, and I hope you enjoyed. If you guys liked the talk about stolen vehicles, maybe you want to see my previous video about how I handle that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
I'll call you back. What the